Right. Okay. The official lesson has begun. So at the end of yesterday's lesson, Patrick asked, I thought, a really a question that I completely understood. He said, I'm okay analysing the scenes where something kind of serious is happening, but in this comedy, when there's a comic scene, I'm not always entirely sure if I'm analysing it in enough depth, or even if there's enough there to analyse, to say something about. And I completely appreciate that. And teaching 12th night now for the second time with my first years, well, A, I can see even in the comic scenes that there is still a lot to say. But B, I'm more confident, I guess, that even when you're analysing, although we want you to use AO2 terminology where it's appropriate, it's not always going to kind of jump out and bite you. So today, that's what we're going to do. We're going to focus on Act 1, Scene 3, the first 100 lines of Act 1, Scene 3, the buttery bar scene. And we're going to use a technique that I have been introduced to by the people I follow on Twitter, the educationists, the teachers on Twitter. And I did this yesterday with 2 classes, and on the whole, it was received very positively. And I'm hoping that this method will allow you to always have something to say about a scene, even if it's one that you're not familiar with. On that note, there shouldn't be a scene that comes up, because last year we literally went through everything line by line, and you should have completed your electronic versions of the 12th night handbook, where you, under each bullet point from the scene, were putting the quotation and the analysis. So that's your first kind of resource for revision. The chat is on, so please ask me questions as we go along. Thanks, Poppy. It's actually a dress, but I've got it over jeans because nobody wants to see that much leg on me these days. Oh, hang on, Jules, hang on. It's like I've forgotten. Present now. Present a Chrome tab. It's like I've forgotten how this works. Present AO2 analysis and share. Before I do that, I'm just going to go to split screen. For some reason, I'm clicking on it and it isn't working. Now it's working. You've got to do that sometimes, haven't you? Like, just go out of it and come back in. All right, so there we are. You should be able to see the slideshow. Good, good. Sorry, click share instead of present. Could you see me clicking share and you're like, what's she doing that for? Right, let's move that over a little bit. So Act 1, Scene 3, lines 1 to 100. Talk amongst yourselves. Right, here we go. Here we go. I hope that this works okay. So we're going to rewatch Act 1, Scene 3 from the National Theatre production. I've clipped it just a little bit too short, apologies. But come on, I've managed to clip a sequence from a film. I'm amazed at my technological skills. Please don't sit there passively just watching it, because even though we're focusing today on section A and AO2, here's an opportunity to do a bit of AO5 revision. I'll give you an example of what I mean by that. Many of you will remember from having watched this during lockdown that this is where we first meet Sir Toby, and he comes in drunk and then he puts his cigarette out. Yeah, Connor, of course, you can put your camera on. You can all have your cameras on. I'd rather see your faces, if I'm honest. He puts his cigarette out in the urn containing the ashes of his dead nephew. It's nice, isn't it? So that's a very easy example of a little bit of AO5. That's telling us something immediate about that character, isn't it? Okay, I think Dean's class next door have settled down a little bit. So let's do this.
Take the death of her brother thus. I'm sure Care's an enemy to life.
By my throat, Sir Toby, you must come in earlier tonight. Your cousin, my lady, takes great exceptions to your ill health.
Oh, let her accept.
Aye, but you must confine yourself within the modest limits of order.
Confine? I'll confine myself no finer than I am. These clothes be good enough to drink in. So be these boots, too. And they be will eliminate themselves in their own straps.
That coughing and drinking will undo you. I heard my lady talk of it yesterday. And of a foolish night you brought in one night here to be her wooer.
Sir Andrew, cheek?
Aye,
He's as tall as any man is in Illyria.
what's that to the purpose?
I get 3,000 ducats a year.
Aye, but he'll have but a year in all these ducats. He's a very fool and a prodigal.
Fine that you should say so. He plays the viol de gamboys. Speaks 3 or 4 languages, word for word, without book, and hath all the good gifts of nature.
Oh, he hath indeed. For besides that he's a fool, he's a great quarreller. And but that he had the gift of a coward to allay the dust, he hath in quarrelling. 'Tis thought among the prudent he would quickly have the gift of a brave.
By this hand, they are scoundrels and subtractors that say so of it. Who are they?
They that add, moreover, he's drunk nightly in your company.
With drinking else unto my niece. I'll drink to her as long as there's a passage in my throat, and drink in a lily. He's a coward and a coistrel that will not drink to my niece till his brains turn in his toe like a Paris chocolate. What, get Stiliano Falco. Here comes Sir Andrew Ague face.
Bells, how Sir Toby Bells.
Sweet Sir Andrew.
Bless you, Bashrew.
And you too, sir.
Accost, Sir Andrew, accost.
What's that?
My niece's chambermaid.
Good mistress, accost, I desire better acquaintance.
My name is Mary, sir.
Good mistress Mary accost.
No, you mistake. Accost is front her, board her, woo her, assail her.
My troth, I would not undertake her in this company. Is that the meaning of accost?
Very well, gentlemen.
Fair lady, do you think you have fools in hand?
Sir, I have not you by the hand.
Marry that you shall have, and here's my hand.
Now, sir, thought is free. I pray you bring your hand to the buttery bar and let it drink.
Wherefore, sweetheart, what's your metaphor?
It's dry, sir.
Why, I think so. I'm not such an ass that I can keep my hand dry, but what's your jest?
A dry jest, sir.
Are you full of them?
Oh, sir, I haven't at my fingers' ends. Marry, now I let go your hand, I am barren.
Oh, nice. When did I see thee so put down?
Never in your life, I think, unless you see Canary put me down. Methinks sometimes I have no more wits than a Christian or an ordinary man has. But I am a great eater of beef, and I believe that does harm to my wit.
No question.
And I thought that I'd forswear it. I'll ride home tomorrow, Sir Toby.
Pourquoi, Sir Knight?
What is pourquoi? Do or not do? I would have bestowed that time in the tongues that I had in fencing, dancing, and bear baiting. Oh, had I but followed the arts!
Oh, then hadst thou an excellent head of hair.
Why would that have mended my hair?
Beyond question, you see, it will not curl by nature.
But it becomes me well enough, does not?
Excellent. It hangs like flax on a distaff, and I hope to see a housewife take thee between her legs and spin it off.
I'll home tomorrow, Sir Toby. Your niece will not be seen.
I lied. It doesn't cut off. Too early, it doesn't cut off early enough. 4:18, I'll make a note of that and change it actually. Right, so that should have refreshed your memory. How was that in terms of watching it at home? Was it okay? Oh, Megan. Yes, I will. I'll turn my mic off next time. Did you get enough out of watching it though to remind yourselves of the gist of it? That's such an obvious thing now you say it, isn't it? I'll try my best. Okay, so let's go back to our slideshow. Right. So the slideshow kind of echoes, mirrors the slideshow that I put together about planning for section B for the AO5. Like, what's your first stage? So the very first thing, obviously, that you're going to do in this exam is read through that section and highlight all of the interesting stuff that stands out. It should never be a case now that you're reading through that section kind of going, what's this bit about? If you find yourself in that situation, particularly when you do your assessment next week, I'm a bit worried for you, you know, because we've gone through this and everybody should be rereading this play. You should have reread it over half term, but I definitely suggest you reread it over the weekend. So that's the first thing that you're going to do. You're blasting through. Okay, that's pretty obvious, yeah? So this is the technique that I've been talking about that teachers much more innovative and better than me have come up with. It seems pretty straightforward, actually, and it was created as a response to students often finding it hard with the PEE model, or whatever you've called it, point evidence explain, point evidence evaluation. Often coming up with that point to begin with is often the hardest thing, isn't it? What do you want to say? So we're going to apply this to our section of the text that we're given. But the theory is that you can apply this to not just a section of text, but then down to a line of text, down to a single word. So you might say, right, if I do this, what, how, why for The Handmaid's Tale, just the book, the whole book, then how would I drill that down to a particular chapter and then drill it down to a particular section of a chapter? Thinking about the section with the egg from Handmaid's Tale, you know, we looked at that, didn't we, last year? Okay. Please keep commenting in the chat if I'm not making any sense or you just want a bit of clarification. So quite simply, what is this bit of the text doing? What's it making me feel? How's it making, what's it making an audience feel? The how is our focus, isn't it, for this exam? How does it do that? What are the techniques that Shakespeare has employed? And then the bit that's never asked in a question, but is the bit that moves you right up those grade boundaries, is why. Why is it doing that? And I think that if this is where I'm really trying to tackle what Patrick was saying yesterday, that if we can get a response to these 4 things in the why column, they should start to generate some ideas for AO1. Okay. So, yeah, after this lesson's finished, Beth, I will put this PowerPoint and the video straight into Classroom, so you can watch it, you know, to your heart's content. I could even play the clip again at the end with my mic off, if that would help. So the first thing that you should notice here is that I have now flipped the what, how, why into the why, how, what. And that is prompted by what happened in my lessons yesterday. When I opened this bit up to the class and I was standing in front of the board, the entire class went straight to the why. And actually, that made me feel really good, because if you think about it, the what is what we did last year. The what is this section about? What's it doing? What's the kind of tone of this section? So I'm hoping that you've got a 12th night folder open. You've got either your book open for the buttery bar scene, or you've got a page of notes where all of that has already been answered. So it made sense for second years doing revision to start here with the why. So I've written some prompts at the bottom there. The what has already been covered, and the examiner never wants you to describe what is in the scene. They don't want a retelling of the scene, do they? Instead, consider why the scene is in the play. If it were removed, what would the play lose? Does it introduce or develop a theme or character? Is it important for something else in the plot later on? Now, for the purposes of kind of fluency of this video, if we're in a class, I would stop now and we would do this work together. It doesn't quite work that way, does it? So, oh, sorry. Let me go back. Actually, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this, guys. I'm going to duplicate that slide. And I'm going to go. We don't have the lights. And then this is what I want us to do. So it would be great if you wanted to put your mics on, or if you just wanted to put something in the chat. And I'm going to type your answers into here. So why is this scene here in terms of plot and structure? What's it doing thematically? What's it doing in terms of characterization? And you can talk about genre separately if you want, but we might find that it starts to be developed anyway. So I'm going to take, can't see, it's because they're on a timer, these lights. There we go. Oops, I'm going to take these boxes out so that you can start giving me some responses to this, and I can add them in here. That sound like a plan? Sounds like a plan to me. Anybody? What's it doing in terms of plot and structure? Right, good. So very importantly, I think I'll take this out as well. So you can expand on this. Oh, virtual teaching's a joy, isn't it? So in terms of plot, it works as a third intro. So we've had our introduction to Orsino and the whole love thing. Then we get our introduction to the shipwreck. And now we get this household. And well done, Megan. It's the first scene of actual comedy. So far, 12 Nights of Comedy, we haven't seen anything funny. Yes, we might laugh at Orsino, but I don't think we're necessarily meant to. I think as modern audiences, there's a lot more like, oh God, he's so pathetic. So it's third intro, and it's the comic intro. And that's really important. Right, okay. In terms of genre, let me just try and type this up. That comedy has an inherent cruelty to it. Capital cruelty. Good. And it moves us into our other setting. It introduces the, I was thinking of this yesterday as like another, we talk about love triangles in this play, but this is another love triangle, isn't it? But instead we've got an inverted triangle with the point at the bottom, with Sir Andrew there and Maria and Sir Toby at the top, kind of not being very nice. So it's the relationship between the three. A mirror to Viola in Maria. Ooh, both women go against the established gender roles. Okay, so something about Maria and subversion. I'm kind of paraphrasing there. Sam, to introduce the dynamic of Sir Toby's manipulation of Sir Andrew. Good. Yes, and the way that Sir Andrew is spoken about before he arrives, definitely we want to talk about Sir A and how foolish he is, and that's done very much with the setting up of the juxtaposition of that introduction, what Maria says about him, and then how he appears. It marks a shift away from the focus of death in the previous two scenes, with Toby even complaining about how upset Olivia is about her brother's death. Right. So in terms of theme, we've got death and a potential shift. It's certainly another way of looking at death in the play. And we've got the theme of revelry and bawdiness, contrast to Viola's loss in the shipwreck. So what we've actually got there, Georgia, this is the first time we get that aspect of Twelfth Night and Carnival and Topsy-Turvy, yeah? Right, anything else? These are excellent, these are really good. I'll post the transcript of the chat with the video as well this time so that you can see people's answers. So straight away it would suggest that this technique of what, how, why, and starting with the why, only because you've done the what already, we would never skip the what out, is proving very rewarding, isn't it? Are we ready to move on? I'll just give it a second because sometimes people are typing and I move on and then suddenly an answer appears. Let me just check the board from yesterday to see if we've missed some obvious things. Oh, yeah. Right. There were two other things that they'd mentioned yesterday, and they link with what you were saying about Maria, actually, and that was about power, the theme of power, and I think that's what George was kind of getting at with that subversion of like gender roles. And also, here's one to think about, performance. So we talked yesterday about how Sir Toby is always happy to, is always looking to perform, either for himself, is he performing for Maria, and then kind of getting Sir Andrew to perform, to do what he wants. Yeah, and I dare say in the classroom when we could bounce off each other's ideas and pick up on that, we probably have got there and have got a lot more actually, because you're good. You're good at this, you're good at this. Let me just go back and check I've not missed anything. Yeah. Okay. So, I love this, just like making it up as you go along. Let's move that one down. Can you still see the slideshows okay when I don't have them like full size? Yeah, okay. So we've done the why here. And then what we need to do actually is turn that why into AO1 ideas. So, I don't know, I'm a bit of an idiot really. Let's duplicate that instead. So how would we turn that into kind of AO1 opening points or topic sentences, whatever you want to call them. Because there's a lot to write about there, isn't there, in 37 minutes. And you don't really have 37 because you've spent time, you spent 5 minutes reading it, highlighting it and annotating it. It's like your dad checking you were working, Connor.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Are you up, son? Are you up? Are you dressed? Are you working?
He's working from home himself as well.
Pardon?
He's working from home himself as well.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not. Good call.
Yeah, he absolutely hates it.
I like my routine of being at work. Right, come on, what are we doing? How are we turning these into AO1s? The silence suggests that we're maybe not ready to do that yet. Is that the case? So, oh, hang on. Right, so something about introducing, so you could have a topic sentence that talks, can I just, I'm a real idiot, aren't I? Go away. God. Every time I try and click on there, that work? I know I'm presenting to everyone. Right. Please stop doing that, computer. Now, I'm just wondering if what you're writing here are topic sentences or introductions. Because George's, that second one, feels more like, especially the way it's developed, is going to be an introduction. Can you see? Oh my God. It's painful to watch, isn't it, guys? It's painful. Look at you lot, love me. So let's just take a second here to look at the difference between Poppy and George's writing. So George is saying she can see the difference. Because you're doing, I guess, George, you're doing a lot more. You're doing a couple of, when you're doing a couple of AO1 opening points there, then it starts to feel more like an introduction, doesn't it? But what we'll do now is we'll take a step back then, which is fine, which is, you know, what we need to do sometimes. And I'll step back and step ahead. Now, Patrick, I'm going to send this recording to Claire, because your question seems to suggest that you were never taught how to do introductions. Now, what would Claire say? Be honest. Because I'm prepared to put money on the fact that Claire taught you how to do introductions. And we know that we need to do a minimum of 2 things. And the first is that we contextualize our scene. This scene takes place, and what can we use to contextualize? What might we want to refer to? See. Here's your visual clue. Where in the structure of the play does this scene come? I've just realised why it's so quiet next door. They're doing their assessment. Shall I open the door and let the dust ball out? Where does this scene come in the play? Thank you. So if it's part of the exposition, what are we referring to there? Yeah, no, it comes after the shipwreck. F. Oh. It's so painful, waiting for them to search the memories. No, nothing? Thank you. Up and open a cake shop. Freycard, pyramid of Freycard structure. It would seem like some of you might need to go back and revise that. So in the opening exposition of the play, so this is where things are introduced and set up for later on. Think about, without this scene, we wouldn't understand Satobi. We wouldn't understand Satobi and Maria's relationship. We wouldn't understand his potential for cruelty. You know, imagine we didn't have this and we just went straight to the gulling of Malvolio, right? So you've got to think all the time why this scene is here and why it's important, okay? So your line of argument, quite literally the things that you want to discuss, but thinking about that, thinking about the function of the scene. So that's what goes in there, okay? And it's very short, it's just about 3 sentences, because you have got to just crack on with analysing that scene that's in front of you. Okay. Any questions on that? Why don't we write an introduction now? Give you 3 minutes. Go. And you're writing it in the chat so I can see it. Right. That's your 3 minutes up. All right, Patrick, that's lovely. I'm going to share this tab instead. Right, let's get them handed in then. Okay, let's have a look at what you've done. All right, so Talia, I think you're trying to be with us. At least you can watch this afterwards then. Right, that's lovely. So I'm going to post a couple of these in as examples. So it's good, Holly. Yeah, Sam, like that's it, mate. That's it. You just literally do that. I'm not going to copy and paste them all because obviously you'll have a transcript of the chat after this. I'm just putting these in more for my benefit when I'm teaching this next year, if I'm honest. That's good, Sam, Annie. Yep, spot on, Annie. Oops, Georgia. Spot on, Georgia. That's good, Connor. I don't like this word collided. I don't think you need that, but otherwise that's good. Good, Poppy. Still got a few not uploaded. Yeah, Holly, that's fine. What's your spelling in parts? So if I go back to the slideshow, we've got Holly and Sam's introductions here that you can use as models. And I still need people to upload theirs, please. Come on, Olivia, I know you're overthinking it. Don't overthink it. Right. Okay. So I'm just going to sort this out. Just going to take the Georges out of there because we said it acts a bit too much like an introduction there, doesn't it? Okay. So this is the important bit really, isn't it? How do we now move from the why and how do we support the why with the how, with the AO2 analysis? So let's have a look at this one together. One of the things that I would like to write about, and that's really important actually, let me just spend a bit of time talking about that. There are lots of ideas there. Let's go back to this slide. Right, look at all of the ideas that we've got here. I don't think I could write about all of those in 35 minutes. So how are you going to choose what you want to write about? quite honestly, you've got to choose where the best evidence is. So you don't want to choose something where there's literally like a tiny bit you can say about it. So that's why I've chosen to write about Maria and power, because I think there's a lot that I can say there. But quite honestly, I'm also interested in Maria and power. I mean, that's something that I like. And I think I could say quite confidently now of the students in the class, which of them kind of are invested in this play. Like, oh yeah, look, I love this scene because, and that's what you've got to do. Even if you fake it, you've got to love the scene because. I love this scene because I hate Satobi. I hate him so much, but that at least makes me interested in him, right? I mean, I just adore Sir Andrew. And I think it's just the Tim Carroll production where he flings the rabbits around on the table. Oh my God. 1 sec. Millie, that's a lovely intro. Good lass. Good lass, pleased with that. Oh, what am I saying? So can we do this? Maria has power in this scene, right? I mean, that's as basic an AO1 as you're going to get. So now it's all about where that power is. Oh, God. So let's, where are we going to go? Tell me where Maria has power and how I will choose a quotation and explore it in detail. For some reason I'm on Act 2, Scene 2. Where's the first example of her having power in this scene? She does use her sexuality as power. Excellent. So you're saying she's presented as being quite maternal when she's chastising Satobi for being out late. So there's something about chastising Satobi's behaviour. I guess the maternal bit would depend on production, wouldn't it? She's power, but only through her femininity, which could suggest a lack of power, yeah. And a subversion because Toby, right, okay, so that's the important bit, isn't it? Maria should not be speaking to Satobi like this. She is a servant in the household of which he is a sir. So that's the first point that we want to make. You must come in earlier of nights. Now, is there particularly a great deal of terminology that we can apply to this? Not really. So we need to talk there about just the power structures and the hierarchies. Right. But tell me about, I don't think it's sexuality, I think it's just sex. Maria's use of metaphors to confuse Sir Andrew, who does not understand the complexity of language. Yeah, I mean, he's the one who says, what's your metaphor? Well, there isn't a metaphor. Why is he even asking this question? Lovely, Olivia. Good. What's she spelling of Freitags? But yeah, otherwise that's spot on. Good lass. Okay. So the answers that you've given here are accurate, but they're a bit woolly. I'm asking if you've got a tab open for this scene, could you just maybe copy and paste some quotations into the chat? You know, where specifically are you going to go? Because that's what you need to do. It's that drilling down. Remember, you've got your blinkers on and you're like a microscope over this section. So let's have some quotations in here, please. Thank you, Georgia. Thanks, Megan. Good. Yeah. Good, Poppy. Can we have a look at this section together? So Toby says that Sir Andrew plays the viol de gamboys and speaks 3 or 4 languages, word for word without book, and hath all the good gifts of nature. He hath indeed almost natural, for besides that he's a fool, he's a great quarreller, and but that he hath the gift of a coward to allay the gust he hath in quarrelling, 'tis thought among the prudent he would quickly have the gift of a grave. Okay. So that is lines 26, 27. What would I want to pick out of what Maria says there?
She calls him a fool and a coward.
She does. Good. Come on, though, it's a bit more. And in terms of two as well. What? How has being a coward actually helped him? She said if he wasn't a coward, he'd be dead. Yeah. Says Andrew has a gift, but it is that of a coward. So he says he's a great quarreller. Just starts fights, probably because he's drunk. And but that he hath the gift of a coward to allay the gust he hath in quarrelling, 'tis thought among the prudent he would quickly have the gift of a grave. And you hear all the alliteration there, emphasising that. He's good at starting fights, and he's equally as good at running away. Yeah, as seen with Cesario's fight. But then what does he do at the end of Act 3? Act 4, Scene 1 sees him running after Cesario, who is now Sebastian, and just striking him. At which point Sebastian turns around and stabs him 3 times. Well, stabs him, cuts him. So Maria is also foreshadowing here Sir Andrew's behaviour later on, isn't she? But for all the quotations you picked out there, the one that's got the obvious bit of AO2 analysis in terms of the alliteration and the imagery of death, you've not gone near. Now I'm aware we're coming up to an hour now, which I think is, I applaud your patience, because doing this online for an hour isn't easy. It's hard to stay focused, isn't it? So what I'm going to do is bring this to an end. There is a video in the 12th night classroom from my other class where I've gone through Act 1, Scene 3 in a bit more detail. So you can watch that as well. And I think there's one even from last year. I would like you to have a go at writing up now just one of these points with all of the AO2 analysis. And I'm going to make a document in the classroom where you can drop that in. So I'm just wanting a really nice point. You can either continue this one about Maria and power, because we haven't looked at the detail there of kind of the language, the bawdy humour, or you could look at the introduction of Sir Toby and his potential cruelty, or you could look at, I've forgotten what other things we said now, said loads, haven't we? The relationship between Maria and Sir Toby, and the introduction of just the comedy at this point. Okay. Whoa. Can it be handwritten? Yeah, as long as you take a photo and upload it for me, that'll be fine. But that's what you need to do for the next half hour. So I'd expect those in by 10:30, please. And I want to see little bits of quotations embedded in and thoroughly explored. You are wringing those quotations dry, okay? You're exhausting them for all they're worth. Right, good. Thanks, guys. Whew. I will stop presenting. Who am I missing? Just Lee. I'm missing somebody else. Oh, it's a different class. 16. Right. Okay. Stop recording while I'm wittering on.